See ya with Gimme Love. Welcome back. It is the Country Viewpoint here on your colour of country life, Flow FM. It's time to go into South Australia now, where Claire Scriven joins me, the Minister for Primary Industries, Regional Development and Forestry, to give us a number of updates. Great to catch up with you again in 2024. Claire, how's the start of your year been?
Yeah, thanks, Elvis. Yeah, it's good to catch up with you as well. Yeah, look, so far so good. It's been very busy, as you would imagine. There's plenty happening in the agricultural landscape. So, big start to the year. And, of course, Parliament is sitting this week as well.
No doubt. Well, as you say, lots going on in the ag world. Let's go there first, and particularly into the southeast of South Australia, where there's been a bit of back and forth going on, yourself being involved in this. You're saying that the opposition in South Australia is waging a war on farmers in that part of the world due to this feral deer issue. Are you able just to bring our listeners up to speed on what this is all about?
Yeah, so feral deer is a huge problem in South Australia, particularly in the Limestone Coast and also the South Peninsula. So the losses that primary production has is huge. It's something like $36 million lost in agricultural productivity in 2022 alone because of feral deer. And the predictions show that this could increase to as high as losses of $242 million a year by 2031 if action's not taken. Now, in addition to the agricultural losses, there's also the impacts on native wildlife because of feral deer eating the food, essentially, that's there for native wildlife, and also really big issues on the roads of hitting feral deer. So that is not something anyone wants to be doing. Just hitting feral deer on the road, there's a lot of accidents attributed to it. So there's a whole lot of reasons why it's really important to eradicate feral deer. And interestingly, it was actually a Liberal policy back in 2019 that was introduced, but it's one that the Labor government certainly supports as well, to actually make sure that feral deer are eradicated. What we've seen in other parts of the country is that where they're just left, for example, to perhaps be managed by recreational hunters or small-scale eradication or management, that it doesn't work, and what's happened is that they've been absolutely overrun. So it's a really important program. The Landscape Board has been working very hard with both state and federal government funding to eradicate. And a big part of that also is the thermal shooting program. And that's the best way to get rid of lots of feral deer relatively quickly, as well as being humane in its operation. And that's something that, unfortunately, a couple of the Liberals, including the Shadow Minister for Primary Industries, has really been undermining. There was a forum in Narra Court a couple of weeks ago. Now, it attracted quite a number of people. There were $5,000 worth of door prizes being offered, as well as a free barbecue, but I'm sure some of those people who were there were very much invested in the issue. But really, the opposition was putting up a lot of fear and really undermining the program, whereas what we've had from the southeast, from many, many farmers, is how important it is to them that feral deer are eradicated. And what's been happening over several years is that a lot of farmers have been investing a lot of money to eradicate feral deer, but just a handful of neighbouring properties haven't been doing that. And so that means that the farmers who are doing the right thing are constantly having to redo it, spend a lot of extra money. Some have told me how they've had illegal recreational hunters coming onto their land, a whole lot of problems. And that very small number, I think, is who the opposition are listening to.
Claire Scriven, the Minister for Primary Industries and Regional Development in South Australia, speaking to us about that very key issue going on in the Limestone Coast at the moment. And we'll continue our coverage on this topic right after these messages. Don't go anywhere. It's the Monday edition of the Country Viewpoint on Flow FM. Natasha Bedingfield with Unwritten, and welcome back. It is the Country Viewpoint Monday edition on Flow FM. I'm speaking with Claire Scriven. She's on the line right now. She is, of course, the Minister for Primary Industries and Regional Development in South Australia. Now, Claire, back to the issue in the Limestone Coast about this feral deer outbreak. Have you heard back from David Spears? Because you did write to him. So has the opposition leader made any contact with you or ratepayers for that matter?
Right, no, I haven't had any direct contact from David Spears. I did write to him saying, look, This is actually a policy that the Liberals implemented in 2019. Feral deer are a pest species. It's actually under the law, landholders are required to eradicate them, but I haven't had any response from him. One thing that's probably also worth pointing out is that you can farm deer. So if you're abiding by all the requirements to have farmed deer, that's a totally different thing. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is feral deer. And there are also, lots of areas in the southeast, in the Limestone Coast, where these sort of small number of properties that haven't been really active in getting eradication occurring on their properties. They essentially either, it might be accidental, but they've become safe havens for feral deer. And so they are reproducing at a very high rate. And that's just exacerbating the problem.
Okay, well, on to a more positive front with regards to agri-news and things happening around the traps. South Australia as a whole, we've seen a record-breaking growth to $18.5 billion in agribusiness revenue. This is news that you shared to your social media followers in recent days, Claire. So unpack this for us. I mean, it shows just how vibrant and how busy it's been in South Australia with regards to producers on the land.
That's right, and it really does underscore yet again how important all of our agribusinesses, agriculture, is to our state. It's a huge part of our economy. And as you mentioned, the 2022-23 primary industry scorecard shows $18.5 billion in terms of revenue, compared to last year, which was also incredibly high at $17.3 billion. So quite a big increase there. And something that I'm not sure that everyone's aware of, that more than half of our state's merchandise exports are from the agricultural sector, from the agribusiness sector. And some of the biggest drivers have been with field crops. So revenue for field crops was up 39%. And then there have been increases in a number of other areas as well, although smaller increases. So forestry increased 5%, dairy increased 34%, and the seafood industry also had a 5% increase in value. So we know there are still, of course, lots of challenges within the agricultural sectors. There always are. It's a bit of the nature of farming, as I'm sure many of your listeners are aware. But it is really, really encouraging to see how well South Australia is doing in this. And of course, it comes off the back of other really positive news for South Australia, such as in the top leading economies of the country.
Claire, we know how busy you are during a sitting week, so we'll let you go in a few short moments. But before we do, we'll just give you the floor just to share any other updates that you have with our listeners.
Look, there's always a lot happening in the agricultural sectors in South Australia. We're doing a lot of work to try and re-engage with China because they're such an important part of our export market. They actually are no longer the top export market for agri products. They were overtaken by Indonesia in this past year, but China is still an incredibly important export market. And so we're continuing the work with China to try and establish that relationship to the benefit of so many of our agricultural sectors. Here in Parliament, we'll be introducing the biosecurity bill in the first half of this year. That's something that there's been a lot of consultation around and is really about streamlining a lot of our systems and strengthening our state against the biosecurity risks that are constantly increasing, unfortunately, and also just continuing the many regular meetings that I'm having across all of the sectors, because I really see this role as a partnership with industry, and I've been really pleased that industry has been so keen to work with our government so that we can continue to develop this key part of our economy.
Claire Scriven, the Minister for Primary Industries, Regional Development and Forestry in South Australia. Really do appreciate your time. All the best with everything going forward, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks. Have a great day, Ellis.
Claire Scriven, the Minister for Primary Industries and Regional Development, rounding out our first hour today. Lots more to come, including Nicola Centofanti, who will respond to the comments made by Claire Scriven in our third hour today. Don't go anywhere. It's the Country Viewpoint on Flow FM. Birds of Tokyo with Lion. Welcome back. It is the Country Viewpoint here on your colour of country life, Flow FM. Two matters in South Australia, and joining me on the line is Nicola Centofanti, the MLC and the Shadow Minister for Regional South Australia. We're here to discuss her response to Claire Scriven, who we aired you earlier on, who spoke about the matters in the Limestone Coast relating to the feral deer problem there. And there's a few other things to chat about with Nicola as well. Great to be with you, Nicola. How are you?
Good, thanks, Alice. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you with us. Now, obviously, first to the main matter on our agenda, and we're going into the Limestone Coast, where Claire Scriven has made a number of comments effectively attacking you about not adhering to your own party's policy, she said on Flow FM, with regards to the feral deer issue there in the Limestone Coast. What was your reaction upon hearing her? I know you listened to the show earlier on today, and how do you respond to her response?
Yeah, look, Alice, really disappointed. Can I just be clear to your listeners? I unequivocally support the feral deer culling program. Always have and always will, and I've been on media channels time and time again throwing my support behind feral animal control right across not only our state but the nation. I've always supported the management of invasive species, not only because of their negative impact on agricultural land and obviously the environment, but because they do present a huge biosecurity risk. But, Alice, this is not what this current conversation is about. This current conversation is about landowners' rights and choices. And I did attend a community forum in Naracoorte where over 300 people really expressed their dismay over the government's heavy-handed approach. And these communities are by no means against controlling deer numbers, and nor are they against the use of aerial culling as part of a range of tools if it's carried out safely and humanely. But what they are against is being forced to take part in the aerial culling program, being forced out of their properties for days at a time, sometimes up to 10 days, and being forced to sign agreements which stipulate that they are liable for any other person or the public entering their property during that time. And Ellis, it's my understanding that they're also being told that they'll have to foot the bill if they don't comply. And these reports are incredibly disturbing because as communities, we should all be working together on this issue. And aerial culling is one tool in the toolbox and shouldn't be used in isolation for the control of feral deer populations. It should be used alongside and as a complement to other measures such as the use of commercial, professional and recreational hunters. And Ellis, it's my opinion that it should be the landowner's choice as to which tools they use to manage the deer numbers on their property. Again, so long as they do manage those deer numbers, because as Liberals, we believe in individual choice and we will always seek to protect property rights. That is, the right to do what you choose with your private property here in South Australia. And I think it's important to point out that success and practical outcomes occur when communities, individuals and governments collaborate and work together to achieve outcomes. It doesn't occur when governments use its big stick to wield power over individuals and communities, and it certainly doesn't occur when people feel like their basic rights and freedoms are being taken away from them. So all I'm doing, Alice, is urging this current government to reassess their heavy-handed tactics and rather than taking a big stick approach, work with individual landowners to use a range of control measures for feral deer rather than using a blanket one-size-fits-all approach, because if they don't, I think they will risk losing the community on this incredibly important program for the state.
Nicola Centofanti is the Shadow Minister for Regional South Australia, and we'll continue this conversation with her in a very short while. She'll stay on the line with me, and make sure you do as well. Don't go anywhere. It's the Country Viewpoint, third hour here on the Monday edition of the program. See you back here shortly. Lauren Daigle with her song, These Are the Days, and welcome back. It is the Country Viewpoint here on your colour of country life, Flow FM. Well, the days on the Limestone Coast right now are being consumed in many ways by this feral deer outbreak. and we've had a bit of toing and throwing across the Flow network this afternoon. Joining me back on the line is Nicola Centofanti. She's the MLC in South Australia and the Shadow Minister for Regional South Australia, and she's been responding to comments that were made by Claire Scriven, which we aired you at the top of today's show. For those who are close to this issue but not close to the North Terrace bubble, is this being thrashed out in Parliament at the moment during the sitting weeks?
It certainly has been fleshed out quite broadly last sitting week, and whilst it hasn't been a hot topic this sitting week because there have been other things, it's certainly still a item very much on our agenda.
Okay, we'll move along then, Nicola, and discuss your current stance, whereby you're trying to gather some support in the chamber for the Select Committee on the Eyre Peninsula in regards to water security, and there's also some scrutinising going on as far as the site selection goes of the desalination plant there. So over to you. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, Alice, look, I'm really seeking support of the chamber to establish a select committee to look into water security on the Eyre Peninsula, and in particular, as you've pointed out, to scrutinise the decision-making process in determining the current site that's been selected by the Malinalskis Labor Government Minister Close and her department, that being the site of Billy Lights Point. Ellis, multiple times myself and the member for Flinders, Sam Telfer, have publicly called on Susan Close and SA Water to reconsider the decision to build the desalination plant at Billy Lights Point because, to be quite frank, Ellis, no one wants it there. The community doesn't want it there. The aquaculture industry, or great majority of the aquaculture industry, do not want it there. The Bangala Determination Aboriginal Corporation does not want it there, and the local tourism industry does not want it there. And the only people that seem to want it there are SA Water and the Malinalskis government. And, we know that the timing is critical. We know that the EP Desal project is vital for water security for the regional townships across the Eyre Peninsula, as well as obviously for primary production. And this project needs commitment, but it also needs community support, and it needs to be in the right location. And there was a site selection committee that was established under the former government, where the local community could have their say into the location to ensure that it was environmentally, economically and socially acceptable. And they put forward their recommendation of Sleaford Bay as the proposed new site. And unfortunately, what we've seen is Minister Close and SA Water completely ignore that site selection and carrying on with the site selection of Billy Lights Point. So this select committee, like I said, is really to look into not just the decision-making process in the determination of that site selection, but also to look into water security on the Eyre Peninsula more broadly.
Nicola Centofanti is the MLC in South Australia and the leader of the opposition in the Legislative Council and also the Shadow Minister for Regional South Australia. Nicola, we really thank you for your time, and we'll certainly catch up again with you and talk about a bunch of things when we do speak to you next. All the best with everything going forward.
Thanks, Alice. Look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Nicola Centofanti rounding out our Monday Country Viewpoint. We'll wrap everything up right after this. Stay tuned.